Have you heard about the disastrous wedding night between Caroline of Brunswick and George, the Prince of Wales, the future George IV? It went as badly as it possibly could have gone, but firstly, let's just rewind a little bit for some context. George, Prince of Wales, was the eldest son of George III and his wife, Charlotte of Mecklenburg-Strelitz, who was a man of great excess, and he'd spent astronomically. In fact, the only reason why George had agreed to marry at all was because it was promised that his debts would be paid off. His debts at this point in time equated to something in the region of about £46 million in today's money. As a result, it was decided that he would marry the Protestant Caroline of Brunswick. She was actually his cousin, and she was delighted with the prospect because she would be the Queen of England eventually. However, things got off to a bad start as soon as they met. This is a romantic depiction of their meeting, because apparently as soon as George saw Caroline, he demanded that a glass of brandy be brought to him. For her part, apparently Caroline said, "My God, is the Prince of Wales always like that? I find him very fat and nothing as handsome in his portrait." It's fair to say that their first meeting was nothing like it's depicted here. Although Caroline bowed very gracefully and George raised her up very gently, they apparently didn't utter a word to each other, and George turned around on his heel and stormed out. Even so, although everybody was expecting them to get married, he could have turned her down at this point. Although she apparently had a pretty face, she didn't know anything about cleaning her teeth. A contemporary, now bearing in mind this was George's friend, so probably biased, he said that she didn't know much about hygiene, that she didn't change her shifts, so that's the underclothing often enough so that she really reeked. Despite this, the wedding went ahead. They got married in 1795, and apparently George started drinking 3 days beforehand. And during the ceremony itself, he had to be supported to prevent himself from swaying over. It really was a disaster, and what followed got even worse. And then, of course, the wedding night came, and George had to do his deed. Both found each other rather repulsive, and George found it particularly hard. He was absolutely smashed. It's amazing he could actually get up at all. Caroline was absolutely mortified, humiliated, and disgusted by his behaviour. She later confided to a courtier, and she said, "Judge what it was to have a drunken husband on one's wedding day, and one who passed the greatest part of his bridal night under the grate where he fell and where I left him." So basically George had tumbled onto the floor by the fire and she just left him there. Miraculously though, George did manage to do the deed. George apparently did the deed 3 times, managing to impregnate his wife. And that resulted in their only daughter, Princess Charlotte of Wales.